Palantir takes a massive step towards transparency in the UK around the NHS Federated Data Platform or FDP and that over £300 million contract they won last year. They partnered up with UK's Patient Association organization to help set the record straight and show off a bit of what they've done so far. Now, there's a small intro video as well as a summary, but a longer 25-page complete document that goes through major questions that they found from a survey, in which even the methodology was disclosed to be as open as possible. Plus, it's not like Palantir was running these, but rather they played more of the answering role for the questions that were discovered through the Patient Association's research with the UK public. So I already know even with this much openness and transparency and availability, some other organizations will complain about it, but as an investor at least, we can see some of the interesting highlights since they provide statistics on how they'll be working with patient data and the results that have happened so far when implementing Palantir's products at the NHS. So first was concerns about waiting lists, and this is no secret when it comes to the NHS. So with the quote-unquote risks of tying data together and removing manual steps and of course replacing that, how can Palantir actually help with waiting lists? And they first respond about how Foundry is designed to automate a lot of the data quality, but also run notifications to certain parties where it needs to be looked at further manually. But not only on that issue of fixing issues, but rather predicting or finding the likeliness of errors to occur for preventative purposes, which also helps too. But even if it's mumbo jumbo to a Joe Schmo, they provide a stat from the Chelsea and Westminster Trust where Foundry was actually used to improve the data quality of its waiting lists, and they were able to reduce this by 28% because of Foundry. Then another big item pointed out in the document was how Foundry can help during stressful times, say like natural disasters or an influx of patients during the flu and winter season. And folks were curious about how Foundry can help anticipate these incidents and how they could actually help during the times like winter. So they point out last year they saw an increase in theater usage by 6.3% and was even able to help Chelsea and Westminster reduce the number of operations canceled on the same day because of preoperative assessments not taking place, and that's by 55%. Essentially, it means that Palantir is being able to tie together the data, allows them to move parts to speak to each other, and to ensure there's a maximization in the usage of resources that are available. When you get a same-day cancellation, it throws everyone off in the system because you've already done a lot of the prep work, but only to end up doing nothing that wastes the provider's time and resources, but also not actually helping the patient in the end. So cutting this by 55% is massive. And then another comment was wanting Palantir to be predictable around operations because there needs to be room in the ICU for post-op. And Palantir goes ham on this one, noting how they were able to perform up to 10% more surgeries when patients needed it. But also at the Croydon Trust, they were able to free up doctors and nurses' time because they spent less time on administrative tasks where their theater rooms for operations increased by 12%. And that's in usage as well as a 38% reduction in same-day cancellations. But also at North Tees, where they were able to reduce the time that patients had to stay at the hospital, even though they saw a 36% increase in admissions. And clinical staff saved nearly 10 hours per week away from paperwork, which means they could help patients. That's an extra 520 hours a year on average that can go towards patients instead of paperwork. And that's, of course, if you extrapolate it. So Palantir has won the contract already, but continuing to build public trust and building stats to prove their work is still working and valuable is only the tip of the iceberg right now. And there is a wealth of information in the 25-page guide here if you'd like to check it out in detail that probably no one will read, honestly. But who knows? At least the resources are out there and they're willing to publish these stats, meaning they took the time to choose what can help their case out in the UK. But the question is if this will make an actual difference, and we'll see over time. But what are your thoughts below? And I'll see you in the next video.